Good evening. This is a public meeting, the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for April 10th, 2017. Before we get started, if anyone has an electronic device on them, if they could please turn it off. And second thing will be if anybody plans on speaking for or against a petition, if they could sign in at the podium before addressing the board. First order of business is under new business. This is EB 2017-14, the petition's a variance. The applicant is Sam Glavine. Property is located at 70 Fairmont Street, and the petitioner is seeking variance approval at 70 Fairmont Street. The proposal is to create a driveway on the property. The applicant seeks parking relief under section 6.1 and any relief required of the Lowell zoning ordinance. The property is in the suburban single-family zoning district. Is the petitioner here, please? Yep. You want to come up to the podium? Is it Glavin or Glavine?
It's Glavin, but I've gone Glavin, Glavine.
Okay. I just want to make sure, but known to mispronounce people's names.
No, that's good.
Okay. So we received your plans, and so if you want to give us an update on what your plans are and why you're here before us.
Sure. So our address is 70 Fairmount Street, but we're on the corner of Fairmount and Fairview with our front of our dwelling facing Fairmount, but our main, currently the egress that we use predominantly faces Fairview Street. And we don't have a driveway, and we predominantly park on Fairview because of the grade. You know, all the houses are on hills up there, so so that's sort of why we're looking at putting this driveway in at Fairview. We do have a garage that sits back to the back of our property line, and that's on Fairview as well. The garage was built back in 50s or 60s. Doesn't, I think the elevation might be 6 feet for the front of the garage, so can't park a truck in there. And beyond the limitation of the height of the garage, it's a suspended slab because, again, the elevation changes. So there's actually a storage room underneath, but it's severely deteriorated. So from a structural standpoint, the garage, I haven't had an engineer come out and look at it and give me an official write-up, but the garage is in disrepair. So eventually that'd be something we would like to fix, but as of now, it's not really in the budget. So that's why we're sort of looking at putting the driveway at Fairview, and we like to do a radius. I went to the Department of Engineering to see about either a radius or this proposal, which was suggested by the department to do a horseshoe. And again, I think that's due to the curb cuts because of, I think it's a 20-foot maximum curb cut. So if you did a radius driveway, you'd be out to 30 or 40 feet. But when you do a horseshoe, you can adhere to those 20-foot curb cuts. I also have grade issues there. I don't know if anyone was able to drive by the property to view the sort of a drainage swale that comes down the north side of Fairview Street, which is against our property. So when you park on Fairview, your vehicle's at like a 30-degree incline towards our property. And in the winter, it's sort of hazardous with this sort of snow and ice buildup. And the drainage swale, I have a picture of it, but it's part of it's fieldstone, there's cobblestone, and then there's brick. And it's sort of been built, sort of pieced together over the ages. And another issue with the horseshoe shape is to sort of pull into the property And when you leave, because we're on the corner of Fairview and Fairmont, to be able to pull out without having to back out into the intersection. Fairmont, as a few of you probably already know, is a cut-through at the end of the day. So you get people coming up and over the hill and bombing down. So Fairview, we're a little more protected there, but Fairmont seems to be a little bit more busy. So again, we'd like to be able to pull out of the property, and really, I've been able to park my truck in front of the garage, parallel to the garage. I can't pull in because of the height restriction, but the idea is to get my wife's car off of Fairmount. We do have a young family, so, and having family over in the holidays, winter is a little treacherous. So that's sort of what we're going for. As I said, we have grade issues there where the grade runs towards the house, so we do get water in the basement. We have window wells that sit too low. So by putting this driveway in, the idea is that we could bring the grade up and pitch it away from the house a little bit and get that water to run back to Fairview and back into that drainage swale. And there's a catch basin right at I think it's on the plot plan, at the corner of, it's on Fairview, but it's at the corner of Fairmont and Fairview. So that's it in a nutshell, really.
Just one question on the garage. Is the garage, I know you talked about maybe the structural capacity of it. Is it large enough for at least one car to be parked?
Yeah, you could fit one vehicle in.
And is the parking in front of the garage large enough for a vehicle? In other words, can you still get two vehicles off the street?
You could fit a vehicle in the garage and one parallel to the front of the garage, which sort of blocks the doors, but I can get my truck far enough off the street that I don't impede, I don't impede the plows, for instance, in the winter, so.
Right, because obviously when there's a parking ban, you gotta be off the street anyway, so. Yeah.
Right, which we've brought our cars down the parking garage downtown.
Sure.
And I've stuck my truck in front of the garage and brought her car downtown, so.
Yep. Okay. Anything else you want to add at this point?
And, well, you know, it being Belvedere and it's a historic district, we would like to do, I'm not looking to do asphalt. I know it's sort of a aesthetic issue, but I'd like to do something in like a brick paver, and not like a new brick paver, but sort of old brick or cobblestone to sort of, you know, I do sort of appreciate the historic value of the house, and I want to, any work that I do there, I want to sort of enhance the value in the history of the house, so
Sure.
I'm not looking to put like a mini runway
Yep.
out of asphalt or anything like that, so.
Now,
Yeah.
would the, if you're going to put pavers in, would they be permeable?
Off the top of my head, I was thinking like brick, which is more permeable than asphalt, but I do know they have those modern-looking pavers where the grass can sort of grow in between it.
Yep.
So it is our intention to make it as permeable as possible, just because I know, you know, on a small lot, and me having to have dealt with the water issues in the basement, I'm not looking to sort of block any more or water from sort of permeating into the ground there.
Okay.
So.
All right, what we'll do next is I'll open it up to the public, and then we'll move it to the board. So you might want to just stay there.
Sure,
And then
no problem.
you don't have to jump up and down. Anyone here, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Before I move to the board, I do have a communication. I'm going to read it into the record. This is from Robert and Jenner at 62 Fairmont Street, addressing to the board, as neighbors, we support Mr. Glavine's proposal for a variance at 70 Fairmont Street to install a driveway. We agree with the points made in his Fairmont Street 70 narrative and those made by Mr. Burns and city staff in Fairmont Street 70 comments. In addition, we have every confidence that the project will be done with a high standard of workmanship. So the neighbor at 62 is in favor of the petition. So with that read in, going to open it up to the board. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. But before I do, I just want to ask, the variances that we're going for tonight are strictly because of the second curb cut, or is there something in addition to the requirement for 2 spaces per curb cut?
So kind of both, because they're creating 2 curb cuts, because it's the horseshoe shaped. Technically, you need to add 2 spaces when you create a curb cut. So with his petition, technically he would need 6 spaces. He's only providing 2 in his proposed plan, so he's getting a variance for the 4 that he's not providing.
Even though the current garage has a curb cut?
Yeah, so
And
we're
2
considering,
spaces,
because that's
but-
existing, we're kind of not
Counting the spaces?
counting that, yes.
Okay. All right. Great. I just have a couple questions. One was the width of the curb cut isn't on the plan. And I was just wondering, is it more than 20 feet?
No, we'd be, I do understand that the limitation is 20 feet, so we'd want to meet that requirement and actually stay as tight as feasible, just because of the size of the lot. Again, we're not looking to put
Sure.
in something bigger than we would have to.
So if the, my fellow members agree, a condition that the curb cut not exceed 20 feet, that both new curb cuts not exceed 20 feet, would you be amenable to that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, certainly.
And then you also mentioned the use of pervious pavers as a way of mitigating any drainage issues, which I think is a great idea.
Mhm.
So would you, if my fellow members agree, would you be amenable to that being a condition that you'll use a pervious surface to surface the new driveway?
Yeah, no, I'd be,
It wouldn't necessarily have to be pavers. If it was pervious asphalt or concrete, it could be that too.
right, right. And to add to that, I would like to sort of have the driveway in keeping with the neighborhood and
Oh, absolutely. Especially because it'll be a big feature on that side yard once it's
right,
there.
right. I mean, it is, I mean, it's not the front of the house, but
No.
might as well be where, it's the longer side of the house, so it would be a feature.
All right. And you're expecting that you'll be able to fit 2 cars into that driveway?
Yes, but on a day-to-day basis, I'd be looking to have my wife be able to park there, because
Yep.
as I've said, I've been able to park in front of the garage. But yeah,
Great. Well, I think I'd be in support of that, this petition with the 2 conditions that I mentioned, but thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really don't have any questions or comments. It just seems to be that this seems to be a good idea to get with the horseshoe design and getting the cars off the road, and as long as you're okay with the conditions as Dennis is, but I would probably be in favor of this petition as well. So I wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Van.
I'm in agreement with my board members, Mr. Chairman. The petition makes sense, and there's no opposition, and there's a neighbor that spoke in favor of it or sent a letter in favor of it. So overall, I think aesthetically and the horseshoe and the driveway is going to make sense in that neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you, Van. Gary.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I want to welcome Mr. McCarthy back, leading off in his old seat as a member of this fine board. To the petition, I want to thank you for being very well prepared, speaking on the issue tonight, particularly understanding the historic value of the neighborhood of Lowell. It's one of our strong points, if you will. Going with cobblestones or brick is an added feature. So I'm very aware of that area. I grew up on Fairmont Street, so I know your
Oh, you
home
did?
very well. It was a gathering spot,
Yeah.
and hopefully your family enjoys it as our neighbors and neighborhood has. And I do concur, as my mother would be happy to hear. I do agree with you that being a cut-through, and we have reached out to Lowell PD in the past to reduce that. So bear with the city as you raise your children on that cut-through street. My
Oh,
mother
yeah.
had to bear it she's still there. So I wish you the best of luck. Welcome to Lowell. I know you've been here for, how long you been in that house? A couple of years?
A couple of years, but
Yeah.
this is my second house
Okay.
in Lowell, and
Yeah.
spent some time downtown in
Yeah.
Blue Mill.
Well, you've
so
done a great job with the property.
I appreciate that.
Welcome to the
appreciate
city, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I just have one question, just to be clear. So he has two spots currently, the garage and in front of the garage, correct? And how many parking spots are we putting in with the new driveway? Is it 2 spots or 4 spots?
So there's the space inside the garage, and then I think that the proposed driveway would fit 2.
Right, and actually, it's a 2-car garage, but because
Yep.
when it was built, I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head, but you open the car doors and you're hitting the sides of the garage. So you could fit 2 compact cars in there.
Yep.
My truck, I have to park out front.
Yep.
Um,
But the horseshoe driveway is only for 2 cars?
That's correct.
Yes.
That's all it will fit as 2, correct?
That's
Yep.
right, yeah.
Okay. All right. You're here for a variance, and, whether the members drove by the home or not, I drove up there. I know probably most of the members did, but I actually came from on top, what's that, Belmont? I came from Belmont and came down, and that was the first thing I noticed, how there's such a grade change on that street. So it made a lot of sense to me, where I once lived on a corner lot at the bottom of a slight hill, and if there was a heavy rainstorm,
You get it all.
yeah, I didn't have a new home, I had an old home, so I got a lot of old water. So that was the first thing I noticed, but then, I made my way around the neighborhood, and there's a lot of consistency with that. So, I mean, if I look at the variance, the prerequisites, if we look at the circumstances related to soil conditions, shape, or topography of the land, I mean, this obviously, I think, what I hear from the board members fits very well with the petitioner's action here. I just want to make sure, I think there were 2 conditions mentioned, and I think Van captured those. Do you think you have them correctly?
Yes, the condition I have, Mr. Chairman, is that the curb cut does not exceed 20 feet and pervious surface for the driveway.
Is that correct, Dennis? Yep. All right, so I would say, based on the comments from the board members and the prerequisite that the petitioner needed to prove, which I believe he has done that this evening, are these going to be the final plans, as far as we understand? Okay. And a driveway permit will probably have to be pulled once he...
Right,
Goes
he'll need to
forward,
go to
correct?
the engineer's
Okay.
office.
So, any other comments by any other board members? If not, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, ZB-2017-14, the petition variance, the applicant Sam Glavin, the property located at 70 Fairmont Street. The petition is seeking variance approval at 70 Fairmont Street. The proposal is to create a driveway on the property. The applicant seeks parking relief under section 6.1 and any relief required of the Lowell zoning ordinance. The property is in the suburban, single-family zoning district, with the following conditions. First, that the curb cut does not exceed 20 feet, and the second, pervious surface for the driveway.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Chairman Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Member Perrin,
Approve with conditions.
Member Peck,
Approve with conditions.
Member Callahan,
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, Ms. Glavine, you've been approved.
Thank you.
Wish you the
Have a
best
good
of
night.
luck. Yep, have a good evening.
Good luck.
Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2017-15, petitions of variance. The applicant is Mayflower Realty Ventures LLC, property located 313 Nesmith Street. The petitioner seeks variance approval at 313 Nesmith Street. The proposal is to convert the existing residential dwelling from a 2-unit structure to a 3-unit structure. The applicant seeks multiple dimensional variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals under Section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning code and any other relief required. The property is in the traditional multifamily zoning district.
If I
Good
could,
evening, Mr. Flood.
Mr. Bailey.
Beautiful. I like large copies.
Just for the record, James Flood, 549 Rogers Street, Lowell, representing the petitioner Mayflower Realty Ventures LLC. With me tonight is James Gattuso, who was the manager. As the notice states, we are seeking various dimensional variances, including frontage, side, rear, and front yard setback, lot area per dwelling unit, open space, and various dimensional requirements required based on our new parking plan. We did appear in front of the planning board on April 3rd on a special permit to convert to a three-unit building, and that was granted by the planning board. They had 2 conditions. One was we construct a six-foot fence along the abutter's property, and also that we obtain parking variances from this board. Planning board made the following specific findings. I don't know if they got a copy of the decision or not, but they said that the use keeps in touch with the surrounding neighborhood. The proposed conversion meets the intent of zoning, the zoning ordinance for TMF district, and the conversion is an enhancement to the neighborhood based on the prior condition of the property. I also submitted with my application a statement of case which kind of outlines what I'm looking for tonight. The building lot was originally established in 1901, and I've given you a copy of the original plot plan. And according to the records in the city assessor's office, the building was constructed around 1900, which was before the plan, and as you can see, the building is shown on the plan. Because of the date upon which it was constructed, it does not meet the present zoning under our zoning code. Both the lot and the building are considered to be pre-existing, non-conforming lots and structures. And as I noted in my statement, the property has primarily been used as a 2-family structure for many years. It's located in an area of Belvedere that is mostly multifamily dwellings and condominiums. And sometime prior to 2005, a 3rd unit was added to the 4th floor of the building. And according to the building department, it was known as an owner's unit. That's the first time I had heard that. It was a unit occupied by the owner and not subject to rent. I also attached a listing sheet that shows that in 2005, it was listed for sale as a 3-unit building. So my client purchased the property at a foreclosure sale in 2016. The plumbing, heating, and electrical systems had been either removed or demolished. The entire interior of the building has been renovated. And I've listed the improvements on my statement of claim as to what they've done in each unit. As to the requested variances, most of them are dimensional and are a result of the size and the location of the building on the lot that was built in 1900. We can't meet them because we can't meet the current zoning on the building. It met the zoning at the time it was built, but we can't today. I also attached an exhibit from the assessor's book that shows the homes on the same side of Nesmith Street from, I forget the name of the street, up to the subject property. And what I've done is I've broken them out with land area per dwelling units for each of them. 255 Nesmith Street, according to the assessors, 8+ units. It's 11,533 square feet. Based on 8 units, that's 1,442 square feet per unit. 267 Nesmith Street, 4 to 8 units, 20,000 square foot lot. I've divided it by 6, so there's 3,333, per unit. 279 Nesmith Street, 4 to 8 units, 7,166 square feet. I've divided that by 6, that comes to 1,194 square feet per unit. 287, which is very similar to ours, 3 units, 689 square feet, 2,283 per dwelling unit. 293, 8+ units, 19,199 square feet, so that's 2,390. 305, 3 units, 10,110 square feet, 3,370. And next door, 317, which is 4 to 8 units, 2,512 square feet, which comes out to 430 land area per dwelling unit. So none of them would meet today's requirement for land area per dwelling unit. Our locus is with 3 units is 6,687, which would be 2,230, which is very similar to what exists in the neighborhood. As to parking, the original plan that we submitted had stacked parking. The planning board did not like it, and it asked us to go out and revise the parking plan, knowing full well that a variance would be required, and that's why they noted that in their decision. So the new plan proposes parallel parking along the lot line and also along the building. Also provided a 10-foot drive lane in the middle. All of the lots under the new plan are 8 by 22 feet, which is required for parallel parking. Because of the size and shape of the lot, we couldn't meet both requirements. We either had to have an 8-foot travelway to have the 3-foot setback on both sides, or the 10-foot travelway with a 1-foot variance on each side. So we thought, for maneuverability purposes, the 10-foot drive lane in the middle would be better. So that's why we've done it that way. And because of a slope in the back, we had to put in a guardrail, and we can't go any further because of the topography of the lot. So I think we've tried everything we possibly can. There's no question, because the shape, size, and topography of the lot, we can't meet all the required zoning requirements, and we'd ask that you grant the requested variance so he can convert it into 3 units, like most of them on the street.
What's the guardrail gonna be made out of?
He didn't tell me. What's the guardrail gonna be made of?
They didn't specify, but we could definitely put together a plan for the wood or steel bracket areas, either or would be
Okay.
preferable.
Yeah, 'cause, well, the only reason I ask is, I don't think it's on the plan, is it?
Yes, the guardrail's shown on the plan, but not what it's made of. See it?
Oh, here it is. I'm looking at it upside down. Yeah. It's the story of my life, you know? Cuckoo. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Okay. This, yeah, I only asked about the guardrail because I know, you're gonna have to put screening, the planning board asked for screening,
So,
right?
On the
Is
right
that-
side.
Is that with a fence?
The fence, right.
Yep.
6-foot fence, yeah.
Okay. Do you know what they're using for material for that?
Is it cedar fence? You're gonna
They
put-
said wood, but they weren't,
Why don't you come up and, you wanna talk? Why don't you tell him about the condition of the house, too? Yeah.
Sure.
He's familiar with it. He can explain it. Identify yourself.
James Gattuso, Mayflower Realty Ventures owner. So I got involved in this property a little over a year ago now, we'll call it. Bought out of foreclosure, all the copper was ripped out. Interestingly enough, for this unit, there was a third meter, and there was a gas pipe and gas heat, everything went to the unit. So met with Joe Braga, Inspector Braga, City of Lowell. He was the one that brought it to my attention when we rebuilt all the egresses through a structural engineer plan by ACS, that it appeared through the grapevine that it was never a legal unit, and the property was taxed as a two-family. So, you know, Joe Braga was a little unsure about it, gave him the structural plan from ACS, which is a Lowell-based structural engineer and architecture firm for the egresses, and Joe said that in order to issue an occupancy permit, it was a full kitchen, full bathroom, pretty decent-sized apartment, that it was never conforming or legal, so that's why we kind of took this next step. The property's about 98% done, we'll call it. It's granite countertops all on the first floor, all forced hot air ductwork, gas heating systems, plaster, hardwood floors. Kept a lot of the integrity of the architecture within a Belvedere Victorian. So this is kind of the last step, this apartment up there. So we rebuilt all, like I said, the egresses with the structural stand plan, everything, and the place was in really rough shape. It was one of the 3 nightmares on Nesmith Street, we'll call it. So we've kind of taken all the measures that we've can at this time with Jim Aho at Aho Surveying to distribute the parking. And, I think the plan that was done, we spent a lot of time reorganizing it and restructuring it, and we really tried to maximize the safety of it, which I think even exiting and entering the property, it's a certainly pretty good-sized driveway cut, which I believe meets the standards today, but by no means do I think the third unit would impact somebody's safety to either enter or exit the property. So I guess that's kind of, really my position on it at this time. So we're really just trying to make things right, which Joe Braga, Inspectional Services, asked me to do before having anyone reside in the property. So that's kind of all I really have to say, but if anyone really has any specific questions, I've spent an extensive amount of time there. Obviously, I'm a pretty young guy. I have no intention to sell it, but I'm just trying to make things right. And if you can say, to go through one property, I'm blown away at how much money I spent, but I'm happy to see that it's a beautiful property, and I think there's a lot of benefit, and either a nice young family could reside there. It's good for the city now that they're getting the proper taxing on it as a 3-family, because it was taxed for many years as a 2-family. It's clearly evident from the research that was conducted that it was certainly rented at many points. So that's kind of all I have to say, but if anyone does have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. So please.
I'll just, while you're up there, I think there was mention about you're gonna do some landscaping in front of the,
Yeah, so there was some concrete, like, there was a concrete form that was poured that was ACS. It was designed so that the span that gets to the third floor would be supported properly, but the whole side needs to be mulched, and we're gonna plant it nice with some like boxwood bushes and brick the front. And the front porch is kind of the last project to redo, but in respect to the interior, the first and second floor, they're beautiful units, they're all done, but the landscaping is something that, I've spent a lot of time with thinking about, and even just trying to plant some like nice boxwood bushes in the front, and just try to keep that Victorian nostalgic feel to the house. We did vinyl windows, nice vinyl windows, but they're very classic slimline windows that do fit the area for sure. So we're trying to just preserve everything. A lot of the, even the detail molding around the windows and stuff with the block molding, all that stuff was saved and kind of re-put back up. So it took, we took close attention to the detail, and the landscaping. It's traveled street. It's kind of one of the first houses you see when you pull down Nesmith Street. It's on your left-hand side coming from Tewksbury, and we're gonna finish it right. And I'm all about the details. And if you went through this house, you'd be blown away at the details in it with how wonderful everything came out. So the landscaping will definitely look top-notch. As I said, there's still a small dumpster there, which was the last stuff from the first and second floor. Nobody resides there now, but I really just wanted to try to solidify this whole confusion, we'll call it, with the third floor before I kind of put the final touch on it. So,
did planning board ask any questions about snow storage? So I know when I went by the property, the first thing I thought about was looking at the parking area, if we're gonna talk a 3-unit and how many
Sure.
cars that involves. I like the plan that's here. I like the idea of having the 10-foot wide drive-through space. What's your plan on snow storage?
You know, I'm a pretty hands-on guy. I don't own hundreds of rentals. You know, I have a truck myself. I'd probably shovel it all myself, and I'd probably, to be brutally honest with you, I'd probably do it all myself, and I'd be very anal about either pushing it to one side carefully or really trying to find a plan to push it, you know, slowly with like a V blade so that each side of the blade the snow be evenly distributed. And, you know, by no means, I'd give people an ample amount of time to either relocate their cars for the time when we move them out so that everything is properly cleared, you know. But there's a pretty good side along the foundation. The basement is totally finished there. It's very dry, so, you know, even maybe just trying to pile it along the side of the house, or even just trying to, there's an area around the back of the property where there was actually a brick walkway, like an old brick walkway, either relocating it with like a snow blower that way. If it has to be snow blown, I'm more than able and willing to do it. I don't intend to put visible snow piles that are 2 or 3 feet high at the edge of the driveway, because if you do that, you won't be able to see when you get out. So,
Well, like, you're gonna have a backyard there anyways, right?
a little bit, correct.
Oh, there isn't that much of a
No, there is,
backyard after?
I'm from North Reading, so I'm used to baseball field backyards, so,
Yeah.
but there is a there's a
Yeah.
backyard, so, that's where I grew up, so I'm used to these big fields. But there's a decent sized area that certainly could accommodate a swing set or you know, some sort of play area for kids.
Okay. Well, I don't wanna get too far ahead in the game
Sure.
here, so I appreciate you
Yep, thank you.
giving us a description. Do you have anything else, Mr. Flood?
No, one thing I didn't
Yeah.
point out, though, when we had to extend the parking lot, we went 15 feet past the building to accommodate this additional space. It did encroach upon the open space that we had in the previous plan, so we're 200 feet short on the open space.
Okay. All right. And so I guess the last thing I'll just ask, Christine McCall issued some updated comments effective today. Did you get a chance to look
Yeah.
at that?
You sent them to me, yes.
So I noticed on 2A and 2B, Christine notated a couple of additional variances. Do you have any comments on those?
Well, that's why, on 2A, that's the 2-foot setback. We went 10 feet
Yep.
in the middle, so we only had 2 feet on each side, so it's 3 required. And then, like I said, we went further out and then encroached upon the 15, the prior open space we had was 1,500, and so we lost 200 feet there, so, on the extension of the driveway.
Okay.
But that's, you know, this is what the planning board wanted us to do, and they knew there was gonna be variances required.
All right. If there's nothing else at this point, I'll open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask a couple questions, Mr. Attorney Flood. You started off by listing the properties nearby that had similar situations. You kind of went through it too fast for me.
what?
You went through it a little too fast for me.
Yep.
I was wondering if you could go back to that.
Yep.
And just kind of explain,
What I tried to do was show the uses in those buildings. Most of them are multifamily, or three units up, and the land area per dwelling unit based on the records I had at the assessor's office. So, you want me to go through them again?
so are you referring, so we have page 3, I think, of the statement of case. Is that what you're referring to? Where you highlighted the
Yes, yes.
properties? Yep.
Yep.
And so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 7 or 8
Seven.
properties?
7, I think.
And they're all relatively close proximity to this property?
They're all
Yep.
on the same side of the street in that, you know, right, you know where this building is? It's right, it's the second building as you come on to Nesbit Street. It's
Yep.
right down to that next intersection.
And they all are 3 or more units per property?
Correct.
And so what you're highlighting here is that they really don't follow zoning per unit for dwelling, for square footage? What exactly are you highlighting here?
Well, I'm trying to point out that, let's say 255 Nesmith Street,
Yep,
it's 8+ units.
yep,
It's 11,533 square feet.
yes.
So the land area per dwelling unit on that would be 1,442 per unit. The requirement's 4,000.
1,400, the requirement's 4,000.
I'm trying to show that
I-
no matter what,
You threw
we
it so
couldn't meet it.
fast. I thought that's what you were saying, but I was like, I was a little blown away by the fact that we're not even close.
What?
I mean, 1,400 versus 4,000.
Yeah.
On that one, okay. And then the next one down here,
267,
yep,
4 to 8 units, 20,000 square feet. I use 6, so if you divide 20 by 6, you come out to 3,333.
Yep.
Less than 4, once again. 279, 4 to 8, 7166. I use 6, which is in the middle, 1,194.
okay. And I see the rest of them kind of follow suit here. So you're making a good case for the fact that there's a lot of properties in the neighborhood that
A similar.
kind of are in this ballpark. And then the other element that came to light is the fact that it had been built and used previously for a number of years as a occupied 3-unit building.
At some point in time, yes, a third unit was constructed on the 3rd floor. We don't know, it was done without a permit, we don't know the actual year. And according to the building department, it was known as an owner's unit.
But did it receive an occupancy permit? Do you know if the city
I
ever
don't think-
gave,
I don't think it did. I don't
never
think it did.
had an occupancy permit, never was taxed as a 3-family?
No, always taxed as a 2-family. But it was used, and as you can see from that listing sheet, they noted 3 units. It was a smaller one on the 3rd floor.
Right, but the city never acknowledged it
No.
in any documents?
Nope.
Okay, all right. And then I just have a quick question about the way we're calculating the open area in the back. We can't calculate the open area beside the property in the, if we have any green space on the side yard, can we calculate that towards the open area?
Which side yard are you referring to?
So, the side yard on the east, or even there's a portion on the west in the back between the parking lot and the building, not parking lot, driveway, I didn't mean parking lot. That seemed like it could be calculated as part of that open area.
Yeah, so there, for usable open space, we don't count until 5 feet in from the abutting property lines.
No, I understand.
And then in terms of calculating potential additional usable space, we just went with whatever the site plan showed that they had.
I see that, but I think that he could have done a better job of getting closer to the 1,500 if he tried
Right.
and calculated. I think that 200-foot open area is really kind of unfortunate that you didn't
Well,
try to capture, because I think you meet it basically by the plan that I'm
very well
looking at.
could, but this happened last Monday, we were at the planning
All right.
board. They asked us to do it, and
I just look at this plan and I see that as kind of one of those unfortunate, because I think you probably don't need a variance for that, in my opinion, because you probably could have it made a case that you meet it.
you might be right, but we'd ask for it if we need it.
I understand. The parking is great that you have 6 spaces on site. The fact that you're 2 feet from the property line, you're mitigating that problem with the fence, which I think is a great idea. I'd like a condition that the guardrail be more residential in nature, so I'd like to have a condition that it be a wood guardrail rather than steel, if that's
No
okay,
problem.
if the
We
rest of the members support that.
Be similar to the fence if that's what you'd like.
Are we gonna maintain the fire escape that goes up the side of the building? That needs to be maintained? Okay, because that's the second means of egress from that 3rd unit? Okay, all right. I love the idea of restoring this house. We had a house come before us by the Lowell Housing Authority maybe several months ago, and we're tearing that one down. We're not saving it. But this one we're gonna save, I think, and I love the idea of trying to save it, and I understand, the value is in making it work financially, so,
That house is gone.
it is gone.
It's gone. Went down in like an afternoon. Big hole there now.
It was well-made, though, nonetheless.
That's
All right,
fine.
all right. Anyway, I'm glad we're trying to save this. So I have no further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Sean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Flood, thank you for providing the comparative list of several homes around the area. It's very helpful to try to putting into your point that this is going to be similar in nature of that. And I do like the layout of the driveway with the 10-foot wide lane area that. I do get a little weary sometimes with stacked parking, though. I mean, I guess, was there any thought about trying to see if the parking could be done diagonally at all? Because I know at the last,
It didn't work. Didn't work because of the slope, the portion of the back lot is sloped, and Jim Aho said it couldn't work, so
okay.
that's why we did it this way.
Yeah, that was my only real kind of idea. I was thinking that idea was pushed around a little bit just to try to. Get away from the stacked
I originally came
parking.
up with the thought of trying to angle pocket on the left-hand side, but he said that wouldn't work because of the slope of the lot, so.
Okay. No, thanks. I appreciate that. It's just as long as everything was, I'm pretty sure everything was well thought out. And I thank you very much for providing the summary and the comparative things and the updated plans. So I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Van?
I think, Mr. Chairman, anytime we can kind of save and refurbish and kind of just reinvent this old Victorian home, I think it's a good thing to the city, to the neighborhood. You know, from the narrative that was spoken to us, I think it's a very detailed and thought-out plan, and it's going to be a good project, and it's going to be kind of a gem in that street now instead of an eyesore. So I think this is a good project. So I wish him best of luck.
Thank you, Van. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Counselor, and Petitioner, I'm glad to hear we're gonna do a residential guardrail, kind of soften that, that whole piece up, and I agree with Mr. Peck, anytime we can restore an old Victorian in the city, keep the traditional values, as always, Counselor, well prepared, and I wish you the best of luck in your.
Okay. This is not in the historic district, any historic district, right? Okay. All right. Good. Well, again, you're here seeking multiple variances, and I think granted, I think based on, especially the summary, Mr. That you provided with the overview. I mean, obviously, you know, as Dennis mentioned, I had the same observation. I noticed that same lot, which is what, 3 or 4 lots down from this property,
A little further, it's kind of-
is completely gone. And I remember, you know, we had, I think, 2 or 3 meetings about that particular property. And at the end of the day, the property's not there. They're going to rebuild something new. But I believe based on this gentleman's overview and description of what the plan is, and I'm sure the planning board probably had some questions on the final product, but, you know, obviously the structure is faced with many obstacles as far as meeting the variances, and as you mentioned a few times here, you know, pre-existing non-conforming structure is, you know, seems to come into play in a lot of parts of the city that we're faced with. But, you know, one of the strong things I like about the plan is the parking, you know. There's no way I was going to approve a 3-unit without at least 6 parking. And you were able to meet the 6 parking and also provide that 10-foot area running down the middle, and then also with the, I like the idea of the wooden, we'll call it rail and back there. I think one of the members asked if you could match the 6-foot
Yeah.
fence with that'd blend in nice. And if you're gonna do all that landscaping you're talking about, I think at the end of the day, if you take a look at that product today and what it'll look like in the future, that's only gonna liven that whole area anyways. And that whole stretch is mostly multifamilies, as you had mentioned there. And
Across the street's mostly condos on
I
the
know.
other side. so
It's,
mostly multi.
but like I say, I like the idea of the parking. You're able to meet it without squeezing it in and making it, and that's why I asked about the snow storage. It looks like you at least have some wiggle room in there to get
Yeah.
things cleaned up.
I mean, under our parking ordinance, most spaces have to be 8 by 18. When they're parallel, it's 8 by 22. So we have that extra 4 feet anyway, so cars can maneuver in and out, so.
Yep. Yep.
There's a lot more room there.
Yep, well, the residences, or the people living there, they'll have to figure how they do the parking, but again, you've met the burden of the parking, and that's always important, at least for me, on multifamilies. I think I heard two conditions. Well, the first condition would be, we'll condition what the planning board did with the fence, and then the guardrail to be wood or the same as material as a 6-foot fence. Were there any other conditions or comments any other members had? Okay. So, hearing none, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter for us, ZB-2007-15, the petition of variance. The applicant, Mayflower Reality Ventures, LLC, the property located at 313 Nesmith Street. The petition is seeking a variance approval at 313 Nesmith Street. The proposal is to convert the existing residential dwelling from a 2-unit structure to a 3-unit structure. The applicant seeks multiple dimensional variance from the zoning board of appeals under section 5.1 of the Lowell zoning code and any other relief required. The property is in the traditional multifamily zoning district with the following condition. The use of a matching residential guardrail, and the other condition, the planning board condition.
Second?
Chairman Bailey? Member Perrin?
Approval of conditions.
Member Peck?
Approve conditions.
Member Callahan?
Approve with conditions.
Member McCarthy?
Approve with conditions.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Flood, been approved. Wish you the best of luck. Thank you. Okay, our next order of business is other business, the minutes for approval of March 27th, 2017. Any comments, any changes, any corrections? Hearing none, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, on the matter for us, I make a motion to approve the minutes of March 27, 2017.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Chairman Bailey?
Approved.
Member Perrin?
Approved.
Member Peck?
Approved.
Member Callahan?
Approved.
Member McCarthy?
Approve.
Okay, next meeting in 2 weeks, correct? And any handouts?
No, actually, you have received all of the handouts there's 4 petitions on next week's meeting. One of them being the continued 557 Barnum Ave
Okay. You said there's what, 4?
total, yeah. The other 3 are Bolt Street, Dutton, 279 Dutton Street, and 1235 Bridge Street, which is a sign.
Okay, so I have one request for each of the petitions except Varnum Ave. Can you ensure that the abutters list is posted?
Yes. On the website?
And are you expecting, are there still comments forthcoming on the 3 of the 4?
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, anybody have anything? Everybody planning on being here in 2 weeks? Yeah. All right, hopefully Mike will be back. All right, if there's nothing else, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
For a second?
Second?
So moved. Repeat his name 55 times, but when I get talking, I don't wanna call him Mr. Flood. I wanna call him Charlie Choo-Choo or something. That's not the first time I've done it. I draw a blank on his name. I freaking talk to him all the time, and all of a sudden I'm like,